Hi everybody, Jennifer Blevins-Smith with Integral Clinic Solutions, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Navigating the Business of Medicine. Today I want to talk about individual versus group payer contracts. That means I want to just talk about a high overview of billing as an individual and having a contract with an insurance that way, and having a group contract with an insurance and billing it that way. I'm kind of building off some of my other contracting and credentialing videos where I go over a lot of information, and I realized that I needed to break it down a little bit into more specific pieces. So I did a previous video, just the difference between contracting and credentialing, and now I want to talk about the contracts. And I talked a little bit about it in that previous video, but here I want to spend a little bit more time, so hopefully I don't confuse you. Or maybe I can shed some more light on some questions you might have. So if you choose to contract with a payer individually, that means that you're listing your individual tax ID number or your social security number and your MPI-1 number as the billing numbers on the claims. No other entity or person would be with you. It's solely just billing under your numbers. So let's say you go into practice with a colleague and you don't want to do a group billing contract. You want to both bill individually and have money go into your own individual bank accounts for services rendered, and then you figure out with an accountant and a bookkeeper, and you each write a check every month towards the overheads of the business and do it that way. This is when you would use an individual contract. This also means that you don't plan on bringing on any other providers in the future. And if you did decide to bring on other providers in the future and switch to a group type contract or whatever, you can definitely do that. It just takes a little bit work and it will take some time. So if you don't have that MPI-2 number up front and create a business, then it's going to be a little bit more work down the road. But for now, if you just wanted to bill as yourself, then that's all you have to do. You could get a tax ID number just for yourself if you have registered yourself as a business and you apply on the federal website to get a tax ID number instead of using your social security number. You can totally do that, and then you would use your MPI-1 number. The other option is getting an MPI-2 number, which is a group MPI, and you register your business like you would for yourself. But in this situation, by opening and having an MPI-2 number, you're allowing yourself to have more of open-ended contract, if you will, with the insurance, because it's a lot easier to add additional providers down the road. No matter which way you want to contract, you need to make sure you communicate that with the insurance so they are aware and put the proper numbers in the billing. You'll also make sure that you provide them with a W-9 form, the federal tax form, showing how you want your business name listed legally and how it is listed legally for taxes, so they match up, and that social security or tax ID number, so that taxes will be consistent with how things are getting paid by the payers. If you have a W-9, same thing, but you would most likely, instead of having your name as the business name, you would have the business name listed and the tax ID number that goes with that, and make sure you sign it and all of that. It doesn't have the MPI-2 because the federal government doesn't care about MPI-2s. It's Medicare and the insurance companies that need the MPI-2 numbers. If you contract as a group, what a lot of payers have you do is you have to contract with your business, and then you add each individual provider as an entity under that group contract. So just picture an umbrella. So this would be your business, and then each individual provider that you employ would be listed underneath that. And you have to do this because if on the claim, the rendering provider's number, MPI number, in NPI-1, does not match any of the MPI numbers that are listed under your group contract, they will deny the claim as out of network, or they will process it as out of network depending on the patient's benefits. So even though you are like, oh, I'm contracted as a group, I don't need to worry about it, that's not true, because they still ask for the MPI number of the rendering provider on the claim. So they match up: one, it's under the group contract, and two, the rendering provider is also under that group contract. That's why it's so important that if you know you're going to be hiring a provider soon, at least 30 days out, you should start this process of adding them to your contracts before they start seeing patients. Because most commercial insurances and a lot of the Medicare Part C plans and MCO plans for Medicaid will not retro cover. So if you hire a provider today and start having them start seeing patients tomorrow, the only payers that are most likely going to retro to tomorrow's date and cover claims starting from tomorrow is probably going to be Medicare, Medicaid, and maybe TRICARE, all the government insurances. But all those commercial insurances, they're going to process everything is out of network until their effective date of that contract. And that's usually at least 30 days from when you initiate and notify them that you need to add another provider underneath that contract. Now remember, if they're not already credentialed or they need to renew their credential with that payer, it could take even longer than 30 days. So I strongly encourage you, if you have a group contract and you want to hire new providers, start notifying your insurances at least 30 days before they start seeing patients, if not even further out. 45 days is really good. 30 days is good. Anything less than that, you need to have a game plan of how you're going to handle billing insurances until their effective date with the contract is, solid. So again, individual contract, it's just one provider, yourself. You bill out with tax ID or social security number and your MPI 1 number on claims, and it's only you that can see those patients. Or you get a group contract where even if it's still just you as a provider, you're listed under that group contract, and it's easier to add additional people after that, additional providers. And you list the group's tax ID number, the MPI 2 number, and the rendering provider's MPI 1 number on those claims. So even if you bill it out to a payer where you have a contract and it's valid, but that provider rendering services, MPI, is not listed and approved and have their own effective date for that contract, it will still process as out of network and either go towards the patient's out of network benefits, which is always a lot higher out of pocket for them, or it will deny completely if they don't have out of network benefits. Just some things to think about. I usually strongly encourage people nowadays to get an NPI 2 and set it up under a group, no matter what, because you never know what could come down the road, and you might need to end up hiring another provider at some point, even part-time, and it just makes things a little bit easier for you and a little bit cleaner when it comes to the bookkeeping, accounting, and all of that jazz. If you have any input on this, I encourage you to leave a comment. If you have any questions, please leave that in the comments below. Smash the thumbs up button if today's video was helpful, and as always, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and share my channel with anyone whom you think would benefit. Thank you so much, you guys. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.